Hello and welcome to Stephen the Gall, a podcast about Steven Seagal's most bizarre claims.
I thought it was going to be a podcast about Steven Seagal's gallbladder.
Well, I mean, why retread? That's a crowded market. You have to branch out. This is, of course, ever felt like this. I'm regrettably Gabriel Twist. And with
I
me,
don't want to be Amber Twist today.
actually, you do. It's fine.
No, this episode's called Little Black Balls, and
It starts off wild.
it does, because I wrote down very erotic opening with Bronson turning shower on with very cinematic camera angles.
It's the kind of camera angle that like TV had to use before they could show nudity.
Yeah.
They really wanted to show nudity.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just an artifact of the age, and it's like, because you can be shooting around a child's penis and not want to shoot a child's penis. The problem is the cinematic language that you've got available to you doesn't really have a "we don't want to show you the tits" thing,
Yeah.
because normally that's what they do, but this time it's just a child's penis. So, like, they don't really have a word in cinematography for, no, we don't actually want you to see this. It's just like, oh, you're deliberately not showing me this because you'd like to show me this, but it's like afternoon television.
Yeah.
And as a result, it's just, it's just like, oh, yeah, Bronson's wang.
So Bronson's put his feet, you see camera shot of feet stepping into the shower, and then a shot from like Bronson's chest of his arms going out and turning on the faucets. And
Which leads us to probably my favorite subtitle. It's just in brackets, knobs squeaking. It's very funny to me because I'm an infant.
And out of the shower head starts coming little black balls.
Goat feces.
Which is, goat poop. And
Pellets,
there's a song going on. It's going, little black balls.
Song is a generous.
Black balls,
yeah,
little black balls. And it's like, hey, someone wrote that. It's a song. As far as I'm concerned, they shouldn't have, but here we are.
When you think about that, that was someone's afternoon.
Yep.
And they had to hire like someone to chant that. Basically, it has a chanty quality to it.
So Bronson's getting covered in goat feces, and the shower's filling up. And as it's filling up, it's getting more. This is obvious, like CG and stuff. Like, because at first it's just like, oh yeah, black balls. But then it's like, as you see him getting covered and stuff. And the best part was little black balls. Like the title was written in like clip art. Like it looked.
Yeah, and like just not.
Because like the titles haven't exactly been bad so far.
No, and also like the font and like the titling font and stuff just really didn't.
Had nothing to do with anything.
I just don't know why it was in.
Someone was like, oh, big cowboy font.
Yeah, and then like I think balls is in like a red.
It's like American
cursive.
colored.
Yeah.
Red, white, and blue, like sort of. It was very bizarre.
It's just like, I'm looking at someone's fetish. It's like I saw a video the other day of this fat girl trying to get into a car and she was struggling. And it's like at a certain point you realize, wait a second, someone's wanking to this. Because she's like giggling, going, oh, I'm having so much difficulty. And I'm like,
Look,
give someone
if you're watching a video on the internet, someone's wanking to it somewhere.
Yeah, but like there's things that, like there was a site ages ago, I remember reading about it on something. It was like, I think it was called like Boy Fights. And it was literally just like photos of like, under 15s wrestling, like school wrestling, amateur. And none of them were fucked. Like, it wasn't like it was taken by, like, some dude, like, with a camera on his foot or some shit. Like, it was just fucking regular pictures of children's wrestling. Like, there are circumstances under which I'd look at this and just be like, oh, yeah, okay, so the kid's got to, like, get a better sprawl or something like that. But, like, it was clearly for people to jerk off to. And that's that weird thing about jerking off. Because just because you're jerking off to something doesn't mean it's, like, porn. But then if someone's making something exclusively for someone to jerk off to, regardless of whether or not it's like, what anyone would sort of, normally fucking understand as porn, well, then it's porn. And this felt like that. It wasn't like just a regularly, like a fucking, it wasn't like just someone going, oh, hey, look at this fat chick try to get into a car. Like she was filming it. It was like it was for TikTok or something. She's like giggling and shit. And it's like, oh, this is specific.
Yeah.
And that's so fucking strange. Like, imagine that being the thing that gets you off, though. Because, like, how much of a hassle would that be to find? Like, I can just Google tits, Like, I could, like, I can find the thing that, like, gives me about real fucking simple. It's real basic. Imagine like fat girl, like Google fat girl gets into car. Like you'd be lucky. I mean, I don't know. Probably these days it's
Clips
probably a
for
whole.
sale.
Yeah.
There is literally every category under the sun like that. That
I
shit
mean,
is.
prior to that, back in the day, like you
no,
wouldn't
back in
find
the
that
day,
magazine on
it
like
was
the
Yahoo
fucking
groups.
yeah.
Like, I remember those days.
Yeah, but you couldn't get. Well, what I'm saying is, you couldn't go like it's not like Penthouse or something.
No,
Have
it's
here's a
not.
fat girls get into the
And
car.
that's why
special.
that sort of like very specific fetish material sells really well.
Yeah.
Is because it's like, yeah, back then you just couldn't get shit.
you just weren't
You were
able
at
to,
the
you know.
mercy of fucking good dude bro 567 on Yahoo
You
groups.
just had to make do with
Yeah.
boobs.
So
She's not even naked. Like that's the thing. It's just like there's so many bits of this that just it's never the shit that's like porno, It's always the innocuous stuff that weirds me out. Like Bronson being covered in goat shit in a shower. Like, cause I'd like to see Bronson covered in goat shit in a shower, but for completely separate fucking reasons,
So the episode starts off after this jarring thing of Tony just going full ape shit on flies.
I feel for that.
He's taking out his aggression on flies, and
fucking hate house flies.
Pete and Linda are trying to have a conversation with him about Bronson because they're having a lunch and Faye's coming over, and Bronson is a terror. He's just got no table manners. He's he's very
He's been
much
a shit. Like
yeah. So the kids are saying, look, if you don't pick on Bronson and his table manners, we'll have a talk to him and see if he can be better to Faye. So the father's like, that's a good deal. Like Tony's like, okay, that's a good deal.
I also feel like because he's still running around trying to like make the house fly free for when Faye shows up, and for some reason Bronson's just hiding behind.
Bronson's hiding and listening to all of this.
Yeah, like I get like it wasn't remotely explained, but also I'll just accept that Bronson's the type of kid to just be hiding behind things for possibly hours.
He's a lurker.
Yeah.
You
so
know,
like I'll let that one.
Where's Bronson? Lurking. Okay.
Yeah, he's stuffed in one of the couch cushions. I mean, look, we've got a few hours peace out of it. Do we really want to fucking, of all the Bronson issues, lurking is the one probably lowest on the fucking.
This episode had a lot of fucking amazing little moments in it that just where I had to pause. Like we paused after the intro because it just came on so hard and fast.
It was a lot. It was several things too many. Like just little black balls. Like
black balls. That's just So then after this.
Well, yeah. So Bronson's heard this and realizes that he gets to be a piece of shit.
Yeah, you see it on his face. He's got like a Grinch-like smile, and
it is a fucking
So we go to the table, and everyone's at the table. Faye's over, and it's just a great occurrence because they get soup first.
Yeah, Tony's going all out with the courses.
Yeah, and Bronson just slurps the fuck out of it. And you just see Tony immediately hit that switch in his head like, I'm the father. I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
But he can't say anything.
It's the early 90s. I'm allowed to beat you to an inch of your life and no one will care.
So after the soup, he brings over the chicken and he sits down in front of Bronson and he says, Bronson, in that tone that's like,
I will kill you.
I will kill you.
Yeah.
But he's not mentioning the thing. And Bronson just starts devouring this chicken, like making noises just with his hands.
Yeah, he's not even devouring it in a way that's like, all right, you're just hungry. It's like he's going out of his way to be a piece of shit.
And then we get the greatest shot of this fucking episode, and it is Tony holding his knife, just staring with this blank murderous stare.
The best part about it is it's not completely overt. The knife he's holding isn't like a Bronson stabbing knife.
No,
it's just the food knife that he's
picked it up to have food.
He's just holding it as a fucking side effect of the natural process of just getting your cutlery together to eat.
Yeah.
And he's not even looking at his like youngest like, I'm going to actually stab him. It's like he's realizing that he could. It's the realization that I could probably stab him and probably get away with it. Like I could use this to stop that. It's like watching a fucking monkey figure out like a tool. Just like he's just, I could, this fixes that problem. I've got the tool to solve that. And it's just, it's amazing. And it really is a brief shot.
Like, the camera angle's cut perfectly, just a slight up tilt. So it does look like the knife is more menacingly pointed out.
Yeah, like it uses a lot, but there's nothing inherent to Tony's look or the way he's acting the scene to suggest threat. It's just the context that really perfectly suggests, he's going to stab his kid in the face.
Brings out some custard and apple pie or something.
Bronson farts.
Oh yeah, the fart, which was I think's a bit much.
The
like,
subtitle says Bronson flatulates, which I thought was
and the ghost says
who
that's
could
a
have thought that?
large
Yeah, love. Come
fart
from a
for
wee
such a
boy.
wee lad, and it's just, it's odd. Like
Yeah.
it's odd. Yeah. Then they have the dessert, and Bronson just like sucks it through a straw.
No, he sucks it through a hollow chicken bone.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, gross.
So he's drinking custard through a hollow chicken bone.
Ew.
And then he makes a big deal about like how he's still a bit hungry, and he pulls up the fly swatter that Tony was using earlier, and it's covered in dead flies, and then he licks it
And Tony screams,
and then chases Bronson out of the house.
which is, fair enough.
I'd
Like,
just keep him in like a kennel. I bet he's one of those kids that you could like get him living in a kennel, but provided you don't ever say it's a doghouse, he'd think it's a really cool little.
I reckon you could pay
Bronson-sized
some
house.
motherfucker with a fucking flute to come and lead him off a cliff. You know?
I feel like a lot of disobedience issues would be solved by having more Pied Pipers around. I think
Yeah.
that's, we ran all the Pied Pipers off in
No,
like
we'll
the
just-
1700s.
It's 2022, so we'll get like the Pied TikToker, and he'll play his TikToks on his phone as he dances, and the children will follow him.
Yeah, because you could just have the phone. He's like, look,
Yeah,
they're little,
yeah.
and the kids are like looking at the fucking video, and it's like, there's, they can scroll
Disney,
and shit.
hire us. We can modernate all your old fucking fairy tales and shit that
Yeah,
no
man.
one has rights to anymore.
Yeah, like we'll make enough changes that it'll be a distinct thing, and you won't have to pretend you own a fucking 1400s Germanic myth.
So yeah, Bronson runs away. He comes in over to Nell's little dwelling, and she's just on the fucking porch with like a phone and desk. Like her job is outside, apparently.
It's funny because like if she were in like a high traffic area, it would make perfect sense.
Yeah.
She's not in a high traffic area.
No.
She's in the Twist's lighthouse backyard with her door facing not even the road. So she's basically got like, I'm running for local council set up
Yeah.
in the middle of definably buttfuck nowhere.
Yeah.
And pointed at the fucking beach, pointed at a cliff.
No one is going to see this ever.
No. And she's got like a busted up, like, you know what I like? The fucking continuity of the busted ankle
Yeah.
because it actually factors into something here.
Which is good.
Yeah.
But that also shows us like the flow of time in the Twist universe too.
It's a very good usage of that because she's obviously been treated and she's complaining. So Bronson like stashes the fucking fly swatter in like the bird box that like Nell has, and Nell's complaining about like Gribble outspending her on ads.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea of what that's like in Port Noranda, the solution to this is Nell selling an opal for $200.
Because like, what's $200 worth of ads buying you in Port Noranda?
Yeah, we thought about this for a second and realized we have no clue because
No.
it could be nothing. It could be fucking just. You could probably get a billboard for that.
Yeah.
It's like when you look at real estate prices out in the middle of like Bumble hell, and you're like, oh, look at that. Yeah, you can just get you can buy like a whole house with some crackers,
Mm.
but like you have to live somewhere where you only get like satellite internet, and the kangaroos are carnivorous somehow, and it's like
Doesn't feel like a good trade-off.
no, you got to like buy water from a guy that comes by in a Zeppelin once a month.
Yeah. So Nell doing, of his course, the most stupid thing ever, entrusts
yeah.
Bronson with selling this opal.
I know. I get that he's right there, but also the last human on Earth I would give something of value to is Bronson.
Yes.
Because I mean, first of all, I just think the little fucker would probably eat it.
Yeah.
And so she gives him this like fucking opal,
Which
That's-
is tiny.
yeah.
And he wraps it up in a handkerchief
Like, all right,
and says, "Don't worry, Nell. I won't let anything to happen. I'll go straight there."
yeah,
And of course, we cut to the next scene of Bronson kung fu fighting on the beach.
yeah. He's just reenacting like the fucking martial arts movies that we all have like going through our heads.
So yeah, he's running, he's screaming and kicking and talking about beating people, and then we see the Gribble boys up on a hill with a goat fucking randomly.
Yeah, because we never. Cause the idea is like Gribble Senior has obviously given the boys all these flyers to hand out, and they don't want to do that
No,
anymore.
they're sick of it,
Yeah,
which is fair.
yeah, and so they're just sitting there with all these flyers and a goat, and
They're working ways to like come up with money, and they see Bronson, and he's like, "Oh, come on, bring the goat." He's like, "It's not ours." So
So?
I think they just found it on the side of the hill, and they were just chilling with it.
I figured that. Yeah, it's one of those ones where like, the the bullies aren't normally seen with a goat, so you kind of have to give me a little bit more of an explanation as to why the goat's there.
Mm.
It's just little something. It's just like because especially when we find out what the fucking story of the goat is, it makes kind of
Yeah,
less
because
sense.
the goat does tie into everything. It's
Yeah,
a
there is
it's a
there
central
is-
plot point.
Yeah, There is a reason for the goat. But then they're just like, yeah, we don't want to do the fucking job here. And like Rabbit's kind of feeding the fucking letters to the goat. And it's like, that all right, that's a way of getting rid of flies. You can also just put them in any bin. Because Gribble's not gonna find them.
Or just dump them in the forest. Or
Yeah.
in the sand dune somewhere.
Hide them at Nell's house.
You could put them anywhere in this town. There's a lot of space.
Yeah, like if you don't want to hand out flies, there's solutions to this that don't involve a goat.
So they come up to Bronson with the goat with the idea of telling him it's their super milking goat.
Because like I figured they were just gonna bully Bronson for fun, but like they sell the goat to him.
Yeah, they're like, look, this goat makes us a fortune. We make goat shakes. You know, everyone loves them.
Yeah, everyone likes goat milk milkshakes.
We can't give it away for like less than $200. And Bronson's like, well, I've got $5.
I thought Bronson was going to be an idiot and sell the
That's
fucking
what I
opal
thought as well.
and think that he's got like,
super goat.
Yeah, a super goat that'll make Nell even more money. Like I figured, they're going to fucking magic bean the idiot.
No, but they accept his $5 because I mean they just found the goat. They don't care.
I mean, yeah. To be fair, if I sold a goat I didn't own to somebody, I'd accept a pretty low price too.
Yeah. So now Bronson's got a goat, and the goat decides to run off. He drops the opal and chases it, catches it, and realizes I'm a dumb shit. I've dropped the opal.
Yeah.
And goes back for it. Unwraps it.
Finds
and
the opal.
Looks at it and it's still here. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then puts it in his hand and just puts it under the goat's face and goes, look at this opal, Billy.
Yeah.
Isn't it great? I'm going to sell the because like goats will just eat anything you fucking put in front of them.
But like it's so weird because there's all these regular narrative ways that you could see happening as to why the fucking opal and the goat get involved. And they skip past all of them very deliberately and just go, Bronson's an idiot who fed a fucking opal to a goat.
The best part is as soon as it eats the opal, he tries to like open its mouth and fails because it's a goat.
Yeah.
And then the goat just shits and runs off. And the music that was playing is kind of like, for those at home who play Conker's Bad Fur Day, when you get into sort of like the poop era for the first time, it's like,
it's poop music. Yeah. Well, it's the same as like, fucking, the music that played for like fucking Bulk and Skull and Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Like I describe that music as being what irritable bowel syndrome sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like Bronson's picking up shit. Like it's just
yeah, because he manages to understand that the opal's not going to get digested, but like also he doesn't know how long it takes something to pass through a goat.
So he just picks it up.
So he starts and like because it's an opal the size of about a thumbnail, you can't just go, oh look, there it is.
Yeah.
Like if a goat eats a whole thumb drive, you can just wait and see that come out. But like because it's an opal, he has to pinch every turd to like really search for it, which is a fun detail.
A lot of TV shows in the 90s were awakening. And look, if you got your scat fetish awakened from Little Black Balls, I feel for you. I really do. I'm sorry.
Because like the thing about a lot of like goat shit and because you see goat shit, it's just like it's little black balls.
Yeah.
It's not like a big pile of dog shit.
No.
It
doesn't inherently look bad until you like
innocuous.
Smear it.
Like if you pick it up and pinch it and rub it on your face, it's probably going to be unpleasant. But
it doesn't have that quality.
No. Now the goat runs off, and so fucking Bronson chases it into town.
And this is I really like the shots here because there's a lot of location shots.
A lot of Port Noranda, the town.
Yeah, which we don't get to see a lot. So first he goes past the police station. And
has an interaction with like who I'm just calling Officer Sinister.
Yeah. So we've got in our headcanon that after 7 p.m., if any kids are found out, they just get beaten mercilessly by these cops.
Hello there, young lad. Don't let me catch you out after 6.
Because he goes, hello, young twist. And like Bronson doesn't respond and just like runs past him. He's the same one that Bronson was talking to in the other episode. And it's weird because
it's just like, the final episode is like the next one.
Yeah.
And there isn't another series for another 8 years.
Yeah.
So is this important? Are we getting some this Officer Sinister as a character?
Maybe if the show had continued directly after, like, I don't know why there was a gap, but
hard to find information on that because it could be anything. It could just be we're bored of making this. Oh, okay, and then 8 years later, it's like, hey, well, let's do another series around the twist. All right.
Yeah, it probably was a thing that like after playing syndication so much, it eventually like was like, oh, we've played it enough that kids are watching it again. Who knows?
Kids enjoyed the repeats.
But yeah, it goes past the officer, and we cut to Tony and Faye who are trying to hand out flyers for Nell, and Matron just comes up and butts in and gives her flyers
being
away.
Real snide with the gribble flyers.
She's being a bitch. And Tony is trying to talk to Faye about marrying him still, but with not implicating that it's him.
In the most bafflingly it's like you were engaged because he's there going, if hypothetically, if I were to get married, I wouldn't let Bronson and come between me and you. I mean her, and it's like, what's the value of this?
It's
as a
lucky
conversation?
Faith obviously finds it cute and endearing somehow.
Just attracted to the special
because
needs.
There's one of 3 men in the town, and Tony's the best of the bunch, apparently. So he goes, "Oh, yeah, I'll never let anything come between you, Bronson, come between us." And at that point, the goat and Bronson come between them, literally running through the town, knock Matron and all the flies out of her hands, which is good. And the goat proceeds to run into the grocery store.
Fair enough.
And that's where the fucking lettuce and everything is. The goat probably likes to smell in there. And the clerk in there goes, "Well, that'll be 90 cents because the goat's eating
like a whole
some
lettuce
stuff." And Bronson says, "Oh, I'll pay you later." And then the goat is like, "Oh, it's time to shit." So
I do find that so funny about like other animals. Like I've seen you'll see it dogs doing those fucking courses, the fucking obstacle courses and shit. And these are like remarkably trained animals, and they take it seriously because dog brains understand competition and showing off. Like they have enough social grasp to understand. It's like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna get pats because I did real fucking good. And then every now and then one's like just halfway through, one's like, got a shit, and like it doesn't hold it. It literally just pulls it up into shits, and it's like you couldn't just not shit for like maybe an extra because they're doing these things in like 10 seconds. So it's not like it's just gonna be out on the fucking course for like another 15 minutes. It could like just go, all right, I'll shit after I do this, but it's just like nah. Like it's just such an odd way to live as anything else. It's just like, well, here comes the shit.
So Bronson picking all the rest of it up so far starts picking it up, and Matron goes, "Oh my god, the boy needs a mother." And
then he starts pinching the shit in the grocer on the floor and hasn't explained anything. So
and the best line of the episode comes out. Matron just goes, "Oh gosh, this poor child is demented." And she says it in that sort of posh upper town accent too, which is just fantastic.
Someone, the kind of voice that would diagnose somebody else with poor.
Yeah. And like, because you don't hear demented a lot these days.
Not towards children.
It's more towards elderly and people who suffer from dementia.
It's something you say to an old person if you want to be mean to them.
Yeah. So
like you demented old coot. Like it's more of an old person thing. Like insane would be, because you have to have had a mind for you to be deminded. Whereas like a kid's just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, oh look, he's got a case of the shit pinchies.
And we go. So Bronson takes the goat into the pawn shop to see Mr. Simons to sell the opal, who he's supposed to sell the opal to.
Yeah.
And Gribble Senior's in there as well. And the thing that blew my mind is like I love seeing old stores from the 90s.
Yeah, old Australian iconography that's
because there's like the old bank symbols up there, the old FPOS symbols up there, like just things I remember.
The old bank symbol meant that they could put your fucking card into one of those machines.
Yeah,
and go chick, and then like they'd get a printout of your card that they could take to the bank, and it's like
I know,
it's so fucking crazy.
Like compared to today when we just like tap our card or our phone and then just go on our way. The money's there, it's yours. Bye.
It's already, toodles. You don't have to write, I promise you some money on a fucking, with a machine, and then take that to the bank later, and then find out that like I stole that card from a bus. Like it's just,
I just remember like the shops being like 90s colored, it felt
like
very different
sepia,
tone.
but not.
Yeah.
It is its own tone. It's like the 480p of existence.
Yeah, I don't know.
It felt like that when you were there too.
Yes. It's not like it's like, oh, we're just remembering like that. No, it felt like that. Colors were different back then, I swear.
It was the hypercolor shirts.
Yeah.
It just got into everything.
Reality's leaking again.
Yeah.
So Bronson starts a spiel about trying to sell this goat. Because it's eaten an opal.
Yeah, he basically uses Gribble's spiel. He's like, it's only had 9,000 chews.
It's only had one owner, a little elderly old lady.
There's an opal in it.
Yeah, which is just Gribble's loving this. He's fascinated. He thinks that Bronson's great.
One thing I do really like is how alike Gribble and Bronson are.
Yeah,
and I like that Gribble respects that. Because he respects the hustle that the kid came in here with just a fucking goat and tried to sell it to a pawn shop.
Yeah.
You know, like of all the things like you can walk into fucking a cash converters, depending on what kind. If you walk into one of those ones that's got like the big warehousey bit, you can sell like a bit of a fucking house or a bit of a
Yeah.
car, and they'll like take it. Like you can walk in it with fucking damn or anything. I don't think you can walk in there with a fucking goat. If you can sell a living goat to a cash converters, I'll be very impressed.
Yeah. No, like, so
I'm assuming they just have a no
the motto
living
from
things
like
policy.
corporate cash converters stores was buy the customer, not the item. So no matter what someone brought in, offer them something for it if it's,
Because
obviously
they'll come
legal,
back.
because
Yeah.
they'll come back. Exactly. So yeah, no, the amount of shit that we would just get, absolutely. Like, but yeah, animals, no. There is no way in anywhere in that building I have a legal way to store an animal to keep it alive and not have it contaminate,
Not
a
have not have
business.
it be a fucking giant issue. Like,
Yeah. So
but yeah, I just love him just going, oh, Gribble's like, oh, you almost got him. Like,
come back in 10 years,
yeah.
and I'll give you a job. So Bronson's obviously pretty upset about this.
Yeah.
And
So he like walks home and then, Nell's like, where's the $200 that, you were selling the opal for? He's like, oh, the jeweler still has it. He says he's got to examine the opal.
yeah.
And because, I know phones don't exist or anything. I mean, she just believes him.
And so Bronson takes the goat up to his room, starts just feeding it lettuce. And Tony comes in, obviously, and sees just a goat in Bronson's room and freaks the fuck out and is like, Bronson, told you, no pets in the lighthouse. And that's a goat.
Yeah, absolutely no goats in the lighthouse.
So he takes it outside and ties it up. And then he has the Judge Nell dream. This shit was, this looked like a 90s music video for Pink Floyd.
Well, like, hang on, because there was a little scene of like, he's outside, tied the goat up outside, and he's like fingering through the shit again. And Nell and Pete and Linda walk by, and they go, "What are you doing?" And he can't tell them why he's doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's kind of like part of the Bronson torment.
And he tells them they make great marbles when they dry.
Yeah, so everyone just looks at him and is like, "Oh, that's gross, Bronson." Like so there's like a penalty to his lie. Basically,
yeah.
he's lied.
He has to shift through the shit.
Yeah. You could just say, oh, because if you're sifting through animal shit, it's like the goat ate my fucking, a bar of gold. It's like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. It's like that dude at the dump with his hard drive full of Bitcoin. It's just like, oh yeah, I mean, you're never gonna find it, but like, okay.
See, Judge Nell. So Bronson has a nightmare, and it starts off with just like this, just cut out like black background with like
it's in a really good
Nell
void
dressed up as a judge, and her just like leering out towards the viewer, and
like, very low angle. It's and wearing the stupid judge wig, and then she's like in the fucking. I don't know. It
was actually the predecessor for Judge Judy.
The judge fucking battle defense chair that they all sit in, and then Bronson down in the docks with the goat.
And she sentences him for 10 years with only bread and water.
Yeah, it's like hard labor and only bread and water.
For losing the opal.
And I think the Black Balls people are back to just chant 10 years on bread and water.
They are. 10 years on bread and water. It's just like...
That stupid fucking, like, that bit has been stuck in my head. Because I remembered that the second it was like, oh, fuck, that's right. The stupid goddamn bread and water song. And so, Bronson wakes up, like, certain that he's going to go to jail. And then tries to sell the goat to Pete and Linda, which naturally doesn't work.
No.
And then tries the even riskier gambit of asking for a $200 loan from Pete and Linda.
Which does not pay off.
Yeah, also then you just owe Pete and Linda $200. This is why, like, fucking, what is it, FTX went down. That was just basically their entire... It was just like, yeah, you give me all your money and I'll give you some goat shit. And then, we're square.
So they end up taking the goat to school.
Yeah, and I was confused about that at first. They do explain it, but it's also just like... It's one of the things in the episode where it's just, there's some happenstance, where some stuff just happens that's convenient.
Because Pete and Linda are complaining that they're bringing the goat because it stinks and it's in the back of the truck. And Tony just uncharacteristically defends Bronson because he obviously doesn't want the goat at the lighthouse. He just wants it fucking gone.
He should just say it's... because it turns out to be fucking Bronson's show and tell thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, but you could, because it's like, it's really out of character for Tony for this episode to be like putting up with any of Bronson's shit.
Yeah.
So the
whole episode was about him not putting up with the shit.
Yeah. And then they get to school and like Tony somehow talks fake.
I love this because like Tony's like, hey Bronson, do you want me to come in with you? And Bronson's like, nah, And then he sees Faye and just stumbles forward, going, "I better come in with you." And I wrote down Tony pathetically badgering Faye because he literally comes up and was like, "Oh, blah blah blah, marry me, blah blah blah," and she's like, "Maybe," and he just hears what he wants, what he thinks, and goes, "Yeah, probably not, because I've got 3 kids." Wait, did you say yes? And then she's like, "Maybe, yes." And
Then
then
she goes, maybe. And he goes, maybe yes, no, maybe. Oh. And then she goes, yes.
and it's like, Faye, what are you doing? Why are you settling for this man?
Porting around rules.
Oh, God.
It's any porting around in a storm.
He bought her a cow. So now they must wed. Like,
it's just, slim pickings. It's like Tony or what? Like Officer Scary? Like, I mean, God knows
he's
what
married
shit
to the
he's
job
into.
of beating children, all right? He doesn't need a wife.
Come home. I go to my bed that I've made of beaten children. People say it's racist, but I beat white children. I beat any children.
It's just children.
It's children. I'll uppercut a child in their little undeveloped jaw.
So yeah, Bronson is in class showing off the goat.
Yeah.
And of course it shits, but this was so confusing because when they changed the camera angle to the goat
They didn't
defecating,
have,
it was a completely different set.
It was on gravel.
Because they didn't obviously want it shitting in a classroom like on a carpet, then they'd have to clean it.
I mean, again, it's goat shit.
I didn't even know it's real goat shit.
Yeah, you could have just used some fucking.
They're making the child actor who plays Bronson actually shift through the poo. That was a big part of this.
Thought. Yeah, actually, I hadn't thought about that because I was thinking maybe it's fake. Then it's like, well, you could just have the fake shit land in the classroom floor.
Yeah,
because it is like they're in a fucking classroom, like with carpet and shit, and then the goat shits, and then it's literally just like a daylight outside shot of the ground, like dirt and like rocks and shit. It's like it's not even.
It's
slightly
completely rough texture. It's completely different.
No, there's not even the effort to like green screen it or something. No. It's just like, all right.
It was very confusing. It was the only thing in this episode that was really disconnected.
Yeah, it was just like, what the fuck? And it's like, he must have been sifting through the actual shit. Because if they had fake shit, they could have used the fake shit and filmed the fake shit. Like, you don't want to.
We've got you, ABC.
Because it's a real classroom. It's not a set in a real school. So it's like, okay, we can't, hey, you mind if we let this goat shit in here? It's like, well, no. It's like, okay, how about we just drop these things? Yeah, fine. They could just like coffee beans coated in something or whatever. Like
we've raised excellent questions.
So they didn't have they had no fake goat shit. And they
didn't have the budget.
Bronson just pinching through fucking, you know what you're going to do today, child doctor? You're going to pinch this feces.
So yeah, Bronson obviously naturally starts sifting through to try to find the opal in front of everyone. And Faye is pretty taken aback by this.
The worst part is he's the youngest too, because like Pete and Linda are competent and they'll be out of the house, maybe 6, years, give or take.
There's
Bronson,
another 10 to 15 years of Bronson.
At least. Like you could be stuck with him for like 30
Bronson's
years.
going to be in the house till he's 35.
Yeah.
And not change at all.
Shit.
Exactly the same. Doesn't bathe. Like, oh.
And so now it's like lunch for like the seniors and, Bronson's got the goat.
No, they're in PE class.
Are they in PE?
Yeah, because Snapper's leading like hurdles and shit.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the Gribble boys are just sitting down because obviously they're not doing anything at the moment.
Too chubby.
And we get the news that Gribble's father has told Gribble that
there's an opal
in the goat. Yeah. So obviously he wants the goat back to get that opal because it's worth money. So they see Bronson tie the goat up and they're like, well, let's get it. Oh, what if Snapper sees us? Oh, yeah. And he sits back down and then they're like, no, let's do it anyway. I was like,
and the best part is that doesn't go anywhere.
No.
Like that diversion of like they could have just had him go, let's go get the goat. They look around and Snapper's busy like doing something. You go, yeah, all right. And then they sneak off.
Because they literally go, what about Snapper? And they go, oh, yeah, and sit back down. And it's like, but then they get up anyway.
Yeah, but also fuck Snapper. Yeah, you're right.
So they go steal the goat and run off. Bronson sees him out the window and just starts running out of the classroom. Faye's like, what are you doing, Bronson? And he's like, oh, I got to go to the toilet. It's like, no, just say, hey, remember that goat I brought for show and tell that you told me to tie upside? People are stealing it.
People are stealing my goat.
Because then she'll come out too.
And yell at them and just go, hey,
you.
put the fucking goat back. And they'd have to. And then they'd get in trouble.
But no, Bronson has to lie. Always a web of fucking lies.
When it's not, I understand lying to hide the fact that you lost an old lady's $200.
Yeah.
Because you don't have $200.
No.
And it's like the 90s, so that may as well be $1 million.
And now you incur the wrath of Nell.
Yeah, but like, hey, they're stealing my goat is a thing a teacher will fix. Because like you can see they're there, they have the goat. Like it's not like you can just go, what goat? Oh yeah, no, that's Rabbit. He fucking, he's a furry. Really into accuracy.
See, then Bronson, chases after them.
Yeah, like the toilet thing too is just like a waste of time. 'Cause we've been through this before. He did the same thing. He's like, oh, I gotta go. No, you don't. I have to go. No, you don't. I'm busting. Okay. All right. we had that conversation a few episodes ago. So the bullies are walking with the goat and it's shit. So they, they're kind of like, all right, well, we don't want to necessarily just sit here and like finger some shit. And then they're like, well, who gets the opal? It's like, well, whoever finds it. And then they all leap over each other trying to like pinch turds.
Which is great.
Yeah. And then the cop shows up again.
Which is even better because like
this is
Rabbit, Gribble, and Tiger are scared that the policeman's there. Which it just, again, our headcanon's accurate because like, and it shows up and he's got a really menacing stance.
Standing over them.
Camera angle. And it's just like, oh yeah, this.
He has kind of an Agent Smith vibe.
Yeah. So.
Again, he's not doing anything.
No.
Like it's a bit like fucking Tony and the Knife. There's nothing explicit. It's just all these little edges, the very edges of the context of the communication are just very close to threatening in odd ways.
Yeah.
And they wind up creating a constellation of effects that you can't ignore. But aren't really there. It's my favorite form of abuse is the kind of thing that would make you insane if you described it to another human being.
Yeah.
Because you can't just go, oh yeah, he's just being weird. How? It's like, that's just his face.
Yeah.
It's like, no, but there is something there. And so, then Pete and Linda and Bronson catch up on the fucking bullies and they start fighting with them over the feces.
And we do see the opal actually drop out. Like it's not that covered.
And then they all see it and they're like, oh, get it. And then a cockatoo flies down and eats the shit opal.
Which is great.
And Rabbit, it's funny because while they're all pinching the shit, Rabbit's just like, I'm not doing this. And just
walks away.
Yeah.
He does rub his hands down his face, which I'm just like,
yeah, I mean, all right,
he's just been handling shit for the last hour.
That's a point down, but like just for figuring out, hey, this is dumb is just, that's, good on you, Rabbit. You fucking getting that. It was a good idea to rub that monolith you found on the beach. So now that a fucking cockatoo's eaten the fucking thing and has just flown away, so that's just fucking gone. Like now it's just Bronson walking home with Pete and Linda and he's still trying to plan an elaborate lie about how he was mugged by ninjas. And then like Pete and Linda convince him to fucking tell the truth. And 10 Years on Bread and Water is still playing in the background.
And so Bronson resorts to running away.
Yeah, just him hiding behind a shed with the goat.
So he goes inside to get some supplies from the fridge. And at this point, the cops and Tony rock up. And another lady who is not announced yet.
Never seen before.
Never seen her. And Tony's like, Bronson, we want to have a word with you. And Bronson's obviously freaking out. He's like, this lady's lost an Angora goat. It's worth quite a lot of money, He's like, oh, goat? I haven't seen any goats. Bronson, she's offering a reward. Oh, yeah, I might have remember seeing a goat out the back. And it's like, you're a little shit. Stop fucking lying. You shouldn't get this money. You shouldn't get rewarded.
You were just going to keep that goat. What are you keeping an Angora goat for? You're going to start your own fucking wool concern? Fuck you.
So she gets her goat back.
The woman's Russian, got a Russian accent as well for reasons I don't quite understand.
She goes, here, have his $200. And Bronson's like, oh, yeah.
Shitty Australian money.
And it's like, why are you rewarding the lying child?
I know. And then she drives off in a fucking limo with the goat.
Yeah.
And the goat's just in the limo.
Yeah. Like, okay.
And so, like, they finally, now that Bronson's able to get out of being, like, beaten, he finally confesses to Nell that he lost the opal, but he managed to find the $200.
And she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, all right,
and then the cockatoo comes flying in and lands in the box.
Yeah, the bird box.
Bronson goes and puts his hand in it, and I thought he was going to pull out the opal. But...
Oh, he does.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry, but just the opal.
Yeah.
He also gets the flyswatter out.
Yeah.
So he goes back to Nell and goes, oh, we're square now, and takes the $200 back. And it's like, Bronson, you should just give her both.
Yeah, I thought it was just
you're getting rewarded here.
I thought it'd be like, you got your opal back as well. And it's just like, yeah, you don't actually deserve the money.
You didn't sell it.
You didn't do
You
anything.
didn't get her anything.
The only reason you got the opal back was because of just an absolute cosmic fluke. And the only reason you sold a goat for $200 is because of another absolute cosmic fluke.
This taught Bronson nothing. If anything, the only thing it taught him was like lying can have severe consequences.
Which he didn't, because he didn't suffer any.
No, but then he goes,
Yeah.
They go, oh, Bronson's got one more thing to tell you, Dad. And he says, well, the fly swatter, I rub bits of licorice on it, you know.
Yeah, it
I
looked
wouldn't
like dead
really,
flies,
it's
yeah.
the new one. I wouldn't really lick dead flies unless,
You know, just to fuck with you a bit more.
and then he just like licks it, and Tony fucking has had enough and starts belting the shit out of him. Well,
Yeah,
you
we
don't
can only
see it,
assume.
but you can sense
I do
it.
love the idea of editing that, like a lot of the episodes, just to have like Tony screaming and like whacking sounds and Bronson screaming sounds at the end.
Because that's the end of the
Yeah.
episode. It ends on Tony screaming because Bronson's licking the fly swatter again. But the fly swatter has been sitting in the fucking bird box for a few days. So it does probably have bird shit on it.
I mean, yeah, yeah, it's going to be gross. I mean, if you leave something covered with licorice in a bird box, I'm assuming the birds will eat it.
Plus ants.
Yeah.
Anything else that comes out wants that sugar just sitting around?
He's a gross little shit.
Oh.
I think it's just Tony taking any opportunity. It's like that, you know, it's a deal with the other two kids. It's just like, all right, but look, if he keeps doing gross shit, I get to punch him.
Port
Like,
Miranda
yeah, that's
has
fair.
implemented Bronson's law. When
Yeah.
the
Well, that's
Bronson
the wicker basket. Yeah.
becomes too much to deal with, we load him into a wicker basket, into a catapult, and launch him off the side of the cliff.
No one knows where the tradition of the wicker Bronson came from. But, you know, once a year, people gather in Port Miranda to find the nearest local annoying ginger child between aged 8 and 10.
It's like Burning Man.
Yeah, except we all get sticks and we wallop the local ginger kid.
Yeah. Some people like actually use the like tiki torches, so it's kind of like Burning Man.
Like, it's one of those ones where they've, you know, kind of like the way the goat ate the fucking opal in the first place was almost an anti-joke.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, here's all the ways that we could do this that would be the sort of dramatic standard, and we're just going to not do that. And it's like, all right, look, you can do things that run counter to these tropes in very specific ways. It's like, that was fine. Bronson's an idiot. He fed the thing to the goat. But like, the problem is then your resolution for all of it is just like ridiculous nonsense luck. It's like, all right, look, that is less effective. Like, maybe if, you know, Bronson kept saying that like the goat's, you know, fucking wool was really, really, really great and really soft and excellent. And if the entire time he's saying, I bet the wool's worth something, and everyone's calling him an idiot, and then it turns out that it's an Angora fucking goat and its wool's worth heaps, then you'd be like, all right, yeah, like Bronson had an instinct that was accurate and people were shitting on him. And it's like, but there was just none of that. And then he just gets the $200 in the end because like a cockatoo opportunist, you know, fucking opportunistically shit somewhere, and it's like, oh yeah, there, I got my fucking opal back. I mean, the idea of getting something back from a cockatoo after it's stolen it from you is fucking hilarious for a lot of reasons. And I mean, those things will steal shit just to be cunts. Like, you have to understand the sulfur-crested cockatoo is well and truly smart enough to just take delight in malice. Like, they are jerks because it's funny to them. My aunt had one and it sucked.
Mm. So this was another episode that was pretty much absent on the supernatural themes. There hasn't been many so far. There's been a handful, which I always find fascinating when they go the rounds like this.
I mean, it's a good idea.
It does break it up.
Yeah, it's like how, you know, like, because it's the monster of the week thing. You know, lots of shows would do that. Like X-Files particularly would have some that were like, oh yeah, here's like a mutant goblin. And then the next episode it'd be like, oh yeah, it's just some guys doing stuff.
Mm.
And, you know, the result is then, yeah, because you can't have it all be too wild.
No.
Otherwise, it just becomes ridiculous. You know, yeah, what was this one about? Bronson's an idiot.
It was about Bronson's scat fetish.
I gotta pinch the shit. Who wants to do some shit pinchies? All right, well, that won't be one of the questions, but now we have to ask the terrifying
I don't
question.
want to know what the questions are for this one.
I got some good ones. Amber, have you ever felt like this? Have you ever met a goat? Have you ever met a cockatoo? Ever lost something valuable? And the kind of joke question, ever been caught in an expanding web of lies? So, have you ever met a goat?
I don't think so. Like I've seen them in like petting zoos and shit, like, but I've never encountered one.
That's kind of wild. It's like, so you probably will have you touched one in a petting zoo? Because
Yeah,
they're the petting zoo mainstay. It's like, come here and look at
yeah,
a goat. Like,
yeah.
because you can pet them, but also they're a little fucky. So there's that like bit of danger, but you know it's not
Mm,
going to kill you because it's a goat.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've met like fucking, petting zoo goats and shit. My favorite goat though was like there's this one that was in just a fucking, you know how in the suburbs when there's bits that back onto like public land and bush and shit, and there'll be these weird no man's lands, and you're
Mm,
just not sure who, if anybody owns it, and
yeah.
sometimes there'll be a car parked there, but you think maybe they're just like fucking taking advantage of it. There was one of those at like the end of my fucking grandma's street, and that was also where my fucking second cousin like Drew lived. And he was kind of like the fun uncle who'd introduce us to dangerous weird shit. And so we were going for a walk to like, you know, I can't remember where we were going. I think we were going to the swimming, like the creek that we'd swim in, but also I don't remember bringing my fucking togs or anything. So I don't know. Probably just an exploration run. And there was just a goat tied up in the fucking, like, it was just tied to a log on like with a long bit of rope in this fucking thing. And like the area was kind of overgrown. So it was like, all right, the goat's probably there to like fucking chew it all down. Right? And like, so we're heading down, and like the goat doesn't give a shit about me. It doesn't give a shit about Drew. It like looks at my brother and just fucking hates him on sight. And there's something really funny to me about like animal fucking hate, like when it has no reason. It's not like we're in its territory. This isn't a territorial dispute. It's not like Ben did anything or tried to fucking steal something the
Oh, he
goat
did
was.
something. He existed.
Yeah. Like there's no weird cultural prejudice or ethnic thing. There's nothing taught. It's just something in this fucking goat's soul just hated my brother on sight. And so the goat would just go after my brother. And like the rope was long enough that the goat could kind of get around the yard reasonably well. But sometimes it get tangled up and shit. But like it had some fair range. So getting through the little area involved now getting past the goat, which was fun because my brother would scream and run like that really high pitched fucking little kid scream of thinking something's gonna kill you when it can't. And the goats kind of scream as well. So there's just like this great symphony of goat going meh, just after my brother and him like ah! And he's fast enough to fucking because usually it'll be over in its little corner, and he's fast enough to get from like one bit of the fucking fence line to the other to get out into the sort of public area. And he'd get past it, but like every now and then, there'd be like a little bit maybe of like potential ram right into the butt. And again, like for me at that age, I mean, hell, still now it'd be great. I mean, I would fucking fall down laughing watching my brother get chased around by a goat. it's like one of my favorite genres of video is just old dudes getting attacked by birds because it's not lethal. It's not going to die. But like they're also completely unequipped to deal with this thing that's attacking them. They fall down and they roll
I
around.
don't blame them, to be honest. I hate birds.
It's just so fucking funny to me. Because like, all right, a goat is like, fighting a goat's making a life choice. Because you have to be prepared. Like the idea of being chased by like a swan or something is just incredibly funny to me. Because you could just swat that thing out of the fucking like they're not a durable animal. Like, it's not like a goat. Like, a goat, you'd have to, like, if you wanted to fucking injure a goat, you're going to have to land a solid fucking punch. And not to the fucking head. You got to fucking circle that fucking thing, parry it and shit. Like, anywhere you hit a swan is going to hurt the swan and not you, That's what's always funny to me. They're running away from the fucking swan. And it's like, it's a fucking pillowcase filled with, like, bird, like, with avian bones and shit. Like, it's not scary. Just hit it.
It would be scary for me. Fucking birds give me PTSD. Like the noise of wings just freaks me the fuck out.
I had a duck attack my head once, and like that was kind of startling because there's just wings, and you're not like, where'd that come from? But like at no point was I, oh shit, I'm gonna get fucking injured by, a plush toy with like two bits of like a hard bit stuck to it. Like it's just hit it. Like I didn't want to hit that one because like it was looking after its babies. Because that was kind of my fault. Even though I was trying to help the baby, because she'd abandoned it. Like, it was just walking off and it left one in a fucking creek bed. And I was like, helping scoop it up. And then the negligent monster turns around and sees me. And is like, oh, well, fuck this guy. It's like, well, yeah, screw you too. But if I get like, if a swan bum rushes me, I'm like, all right, let's fucking do this. Taking my bag off and putting my fists up. This is happening. Yeah. I will put Garl Seam on my phone, put the phone down. I don't care if people are filming me. Teaching you all. You can fight the geese. There's a fine.
Viva revolution.
Yeah. Just punch them.
What was the next question?
Have you ever met a cockatoo?
Yes. My family doctor used to be at Strathpine, past the shopping center, like where the Pizza Hut used to be.
I knew you were going to say
Just
the Pizza
past
Hut.
there.
Yeah.
There was that row of like buildings. Shit,
Yeah,
there's a doctor's surgery in there, and across the road was a pet store, and they used to have a cockatoo, and it was there for so many fucking years.
They live a long time,
and it was just in a huge cage. I don't know if it was for sale, or if it was just like it's the pet stores, and that's But it used to just sit out the front and scream, like just random shit to people going past. Like it could talk, like it said words, but like fucking just all the time. Like it wouldn't shut up. I think that's why it was out the front of the pet store, not in the pet store.
Hey, this is annoying. Your cage is going outside.
So yeah, that's a cockatoo I remember. It's probably the only one I've ever met, I'll say.
My aunt had one, and it was called Cocky, and it was old when I was like
nothing should be
5.
called Cocky.
Yeah, I just took it. I was like, okay, that's the cockatoo. Okay, it's called Cocky. All right, and like it didn't have like any kind of cage. Like I think it was just one that she'd fucking kind of adopted because it was injured in the yard, and it was old and just hateful, and it was just a loud nightmare of an animal, and like quite large, particularly if you like, I remember the thing around when I was like, younger than 10, and I'm small. So it's just like, all right, what's this thing? And you go near it, it's like, and it fucking expands and its fucking head things up and it's fucking scorching at me. And it's like, all right, shit. And then like, probably because it knew it fucking got under my skin, it was like, oh, I'm going to just bully the child whenever it comes in because it's fun for me to just expand my sense of like territory and space by, chasing something out of it. And literally, like, there was just a corner of my aunt's house that was just like, I don't go over in that direction. I'm not allowed to approach that direction, because it's just this thing and it screams at me. And like, I don't get them as pets. I get feeding them if they show up because that's kind of novel. But like, it's just like having a pet that sounds like Gilbert Gottfried strangling another Gilbert Gottfried. So it's not like, it's like, oh, listen to the beautiful bird song. It's like, it's just, no, it's awful. It's fucking hideous. And it's a curmudgeonly fucking animal. And so it just bite you sometimes, It bite my aunt. It was like her fucking bird. And it's just like, oh, it's just Cocky. And it's like, all right, so you've let this just like a feathered maniac dominate half your fucking house. Fucking, maybe, I don't know, get a fish or some shit. Or get one of those little, like, the little parakeets. A guy I knew in high school had one of those little fucking, little fuckers that you could sit on his shoulder, and it loved to get high. And so when my friend would like smoke, like, inhale, when he'd exhale, he was like the parakeet's whole bong, and the thing would stick its head in front of his mouth and like huff, like, like you see a pregnant woman breathing like it was doing that. Like it knew what it was. It was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna get fucked up.
It knew what it was about,
yeah,
man.
And then it'd like chirp a bunch and just fall off his shoulder.
That's great.
Yeah, that was a fun bird. That was like, oh, look at the little guy get baked.
I do not want to see a cockatoo high. That would be the worst.
It'd be one of those incredibly rare, violent stoners. And it's like, I don't want to deal with that.
No.
I really fucking don't. Have you ever lost something valuable?
My virginity.
That wasn't valuable.
To me, it was. I remember losing a watch. Now, it was like a Casio watch, and I found it when I was young. It didn't even have a band. Like, the band was, like, broken. But it was, how kids, like, will just find something and be like, this is mine, this is my treasure. So, yeah, I used to carry that everywhere with me, and then, like, I lost it. Like, one day it dropped out of the car somewhere. Because, it didn't have a band, so I couldn't exactly wear it.
It was technically trash, yeah.
Yeah. So, but to me, it was valuable. To lose something that's definably valuable by society
and
standards.
Its rules. Something you could pay rent with, I
don't think so, to be honest.
You want this little watch? Oh.
Yeah, no, I don't really think so.
I, like, back in the day when you had to go to a place with, like, money to pay rent, I fucking got off the bus and just my wallet didn't come with me.
Oh no.
And that had my rent money in it. And that sucked.
Mhm.
That was just like that dead fucking plummet in your gut of just like, oh, the tiny amount of money I did have that I needed to do this with was just like, it's gone.
Actually, no, I lost a mobile phone on a train.
Yeah, so that's annoying.
Yeah, because I used to travel to Griffith at like the other fucking side of Brisbane. From Brisbane
Didn't you
down.
accidentally?
I signed up at the wrong campus.
That's very funny. Yeah, so like the University of Queensland is a university. It has several different campuses. There's one in St. Lucia, which is close, and that's where you go if you live in Brisbane, because then you can just take a fucking bus, and there's a bazillion buses that go to it, and it's real easy.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then there's like one out in fucking Toowoomba you go to if you want to fist cows. And then there's the Griffith one you go to for reasons I've yet to fucking
I think it was
figure
like
out.
Nathan campus or something.
Yeah, yeah,
You
it's
know,
like
like
Nathan campus. And it's
completely
out.
out.
Yeah.
So the problem was there at the time they were switching over their IT curriculum. And the one that I signed up for was not really available anymore, so they shifted the curriculum to the different campus.
Yeah, and
so
you're
I
just on,
wasn't,
yeah, you're just
I
there
wasn't
going, oh,
really,
look,
yeah. So it kind of, the paperwork got fudged up, but I kept accepting it through, and yeah, just happened. So yeah, I had to take a train at like 4 or 5 in the morning to get out there for the lectures. And yeah, I was so fucking tired of sleeping on the train, and the train stopped working, so they had to get everyone on buses. So I just was like, oh, what? We get off the train and just, yeah, left it there. So it wasn't a very expensive phone. I'm pretty sure it's still a black and white one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, you don't want to lose that.
No, it's your fucking phone.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time you remembered a phone number?
Oh, shit, dude, my own. That's it. That's it.
Oh.
Like, because if someone goes, what's your phone number? Like,
yeah, you have,
like,
I know you have to remember your phone number because that's for stuff.
That's the only one I remember in the world. Yeah. Unless someone's got a really easy fucking number that's like the same digits.
All fours or some shit. Yeah.
No, I don't remember.
I mean, someone out there has to have all the fours as like a number. Like that's, it's not like they just skip it. Like it's how it works. Like you got, what is it? O is like the fucking, code. And then 4, something. It's like usually 04. I think there's like different, starts if it's like depending on fucking, maybe they don't give people that one just so people don't like fucking just randomly dial them up or some shit. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Have you ever been caught in an expanding web of lies?
I don't know, to be honest. Like, I don't think there's been anything really severe that I would classify as a web of lies.
I know.
Like,
anything meaningful.
Like, yeah, because like my father, web of lies every day, all day. Yeah, sure. That's how narcissistic people work.
Yeah.
Like,
because I think from what you've told me, it really does sound like one of the ones you could actually get diagnosed.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it's not like just someone who just like makes some shit up from time to time or just bullshits you about like, I don't know, facts that they want to sound knowledgeable about. It's like this, it really has that like fucking the telltale grandeur and paranoia of like a fucking compulsion.
Yeah. So I just, I guess because like of the amount of lies he had, I never wanted to get too deep myself. It's just
you can't have
you see it firsthand.
You can't have two webs of lies going.
No, like everyone's lied. Like everyone's told small to medium to even large lies. But yeah, I can't think of a situation. Anything I've ever done would be a web.
I was like, it's interesting because like years of like when your life's defined by like depression and anxiety, you don't do stuff like that because you don't expect it to succeed.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, why would you? Like, I'm gonna fucking I know I'll like fucking lie my way through this. It's like people will figure it out and then you'll get in more trouble. Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's right. That's what'll happen. There's no way I'll get out of this. So you just get used to this fucking whatever. So yeah, I mean, nothing interesting. Because also like I just don't care enough usually.
Yeah,
like, what am I gonna lie about? Like,
no, exactly. Like, who am I trying to impress?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because that's the other thing too. It's like, what am I gonna do? Lie to fucking impress somebody? Then and then it's just sad. And again, like that's just another one of those things where it's just like I can't do that because I'm depressed enough as it is.
Yeah.
So if I have people like it, then I know that there's like, oh, everyone's going to figure it out and hate me.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, when you, again, the anxiety, you already think that everyone's just going to like decide to hate you one day because they figure out that you're just shit. So it's just like, I fucking can't do that.
No.
Kind of curious. Could I? I mean, like, you know. No, I suppose I've just been like lying to teachers about why I haven't done something.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's this
trying to get an
there's
extension.
there's not many chances I've had in my life of places to significantly lie to any degree that would be of a benefit to me. Because as you said, it's just you see the downfall. And it's just like, yeah.
At this stage of my life, I just don't care enough.
Again, like who am I trying to impress? Like I don't give a shit.
All right, well, let's see the fucking weird, miserable bullshit that the fucking listeners have got to say. Dear Twistlings, despite my own experiences of testicular trauma being fairly underwhelming, I have witnessed a dick shot so glorious it will remain seared in my brain until the day I die or the family history of Alzheimer's catches up with me.
That's grim.
It'll be the last thing that he has. He's trapped in this Alzheimer's pocket dimension of dick shot. In my freshman year, okay, load blocked images. I want to see what this is about.
I'm scared.
In my freshman year of university, I would occasionally while away on otherwise dull Friday night by sitting on the front step of the while away. Okay, sitting on the front step of the dorms and watching the drunks stagger around. The campus was strewn with rows of bollards, which pretty much everyone calls the chess pieces or pawns, owing to their shape. All right, so that's the picture. So it's like, yeah, it looks like a pawn.
Oh yeah.
So it's just a fucking metal bollard, and the top's kind of a knobby. The things are about hip to waist high on the average student, just low enough that people look at them and think, I could probably jump over that, but just tall enough that they think, better not, at least when they're sober. On this particular Friday night, I was watching a small group of frat boys stumbling by, and one of them let the intrusive thought win. He ran up to the bollard, slapped both hands on top of it like he was playing leapfrog, and jumped. The problem was he put way too much energy into forward and not nearly enough into up. As a result, he launched himself genitalia first into a cast iron post at a brisk jogging speed. But wait, it gets better. He still had plenty of momentum, so his upper body continued traveling forward, using the end of the post as a fulcrum and grinding his junk down onto the top of it. At this point, his hands were awkwardly pinned under his waist. Yeah, I can see this too. Leaving him wholly at the mercy of Newton's first law of motion. But Newton was a merciless son of a bitch. With the almost balletic grace of a baby barnacle goose tumbling down the face of a sea cliff for the first time, he executed a perfect hands-free front flip. Hands-free front flip.
Hand-free front flip. Hands-free front flip. That's so hard. Hands-free front flip. Hands-free front flip.
Only coming to a halt when he slammed his face into the brickwork paving. Fucking excellent. It's good when you get a twofer. Because like nut shot hurt, but also face hurt is like damage, you know? In the space of less than a second, I got to see a dick shot on an immovable metal object seamlessly transition into a faceplant on an equally unyielding bricks. The guy was sufficiently drunk that he hopped right back up and laughed it off, but I didn't envy him the next morning. Thanks for all the laughs. P.S. Is there a reason the first person I've ever felt like this was never uploaded to YouTube? No idea.
Essentially because the podcast site auto-renders it and then uploads it because it's linked, and it wasn't linked at the time. So I just haven't ever done it. I'll get around to it one day.
Dear Amchan and Gabe Kun, I have been in a forest.
Fucking brilliant. I just love that statement. I have been in a forest. Like, I know it's one of the questions, but it sounds so off the cuff, you know?
Specifically a forest at the south end of my town, which used to have an abandoned house in the middle of it. Okay, so you live in a Hans Christian Andersen story.
Jesus.
This wasn't exactly a Resident Evil mansion, but it was still big and impressive. In the mid-2000s, I don't remember exactly when, me, my friend, and girlfriend at the time decided to go check it out one Saturday. After a long walk down its unkempt driveway and managing not to get that viscous anti-trespasser paint on our clothes from a locked gate, we came to the house. I don't know what anti-trespasser paint is. I've never seen that. So that's,
I have to Google that.
I think you're either making that up or that's some kind of goo. Overgrown grass and weeds, boarded up windows, and a rusty old Mazda with every salvageable part long taken. Getting inside was easy as the front door had been tampered with by previous explorers and possibly hobos. The interior was in surprisingly good condition.
Okay, so it's like anti-climb paint.
Huh.
So it's a thick, oily coating applied with a stiff brush towel by hand using protective glove. Appearance is similar to smooth glass paint when applied, but remains slippery for a minimum of 3 years. thereby preventing any intruder from gaining a foothold. They
Wow,
can't
there's
climb it.
something that stays slippery for 3 years?
Yeah, it's also known as non-drying paint, anti-intruder paint, or anti-vandal grease. I like anti-vandal grease.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I also want some. How much is it? You can get up to shenanigans with something that doesn't stop being slippery for 3 years.
How's Japan not worked these out for their holes yet?
Let
me see if I can find it. Keep going with the story. I'll see if I can
vandal grease. Like the Mazda, everything useful was long gone. After checking all the rooms, we decided to leave the basement for last. It was dark, and it had bricked arches with rusty mesothuks. Is that like a word, or is that something this person's not like fucking...
A mesothuk?
Yeah, MES...
Yeah.
ATH...
Yeah.
Ook.
Ook.
Like OOKS.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, like
I think it's rusty meat hooks. Jutting out of the ceiling.
Yeah, they're just hooks. They're like butcher's hooks, essentially.
I mean, is that a mesothook or a meat hook?
I mean, that's...
Is it saying... is it doing that thing where it's like, did you mean meat hook?
Yeah. There's no search result for the other thing.
Okay, so. Well, I mean, I didn't think anti-vandal grease was a real thing until a minute ago, so I had to double check.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of fucking, like, forest mansions in fucking Brisbane, so maybe it's a mesothook is a thing.
It sounds like a thing.
This was starting to get a little Blair Witchy, so we quickly went back upstairs. This is when the front door suddenly decided to violently blow open in the wind. I've never seen a friend jump so high in my life. All in all, an interesting Saturday. It's a shame the house was demolished a couple of years later. I don't know, probably for the best. You probably would have gotten, like, trapped and killed. Dear people who still use Yahoo, Kaiba here. I have not eaten the hallucinogenic mushrooms, but I eat mushrooms a lot. Great. Burger places usually have a mushroom burger option where they use mushrooms instead of a bun. I've never seen that. I've seen them use mushrooms instead of meat. Because they go, yeah, you're vegetarian. Here, have a big fucking honking slab of mushroom. Yeah, not great. I also eat mushies a lot on pizzas.
Thanks for your fucking useless fucking contribution.
Because I've never seen mushroom... Google image me a mushroom bun. I go to forests a lot. Excellent. I live in a forest. Even better. The Dandenong Ranges. Yeah, that is crazy. Which is just more or less... yeah, it's the big rainforest out in the fucking... Is it in Western Queensland?
That's Victoria, isn't it?
It might be. I can't remember, like, the fucking, where the bits and pieces of Australia are, really. I mean, like, who pays attention to that? Where is that?
Yeah, Victoria.
Okay, so it's Victoria. Yeah, Google Maps that shit. I want to see, like, I want to get an idea of, like, where the fuck... how far away from civilization are we? Alright, yeah. Alright, pull out a bit. Oh, that's a lot of green. That's worrying. Keep going. Keep going until I see the edge of the fucking country. That is like smack dab in the middle of Victoria.
Yeah.
It's the most middly... Is it? It's kind of on the edge. Oh, yeah. Okay. There's... keep zooming out. Zoom out so I can get a fucking... All right, there we go. Okay. Oh, it's not that bad.
Also, like, I can't find anything about mushroom buns.
Yeah, no, you can find pictures of mushrooms being used in place of the meat, though.
Here's one. Yeah. That's one. That's a portobello mushroom bun.
Okay. Fresh out. Oh, well, must have been a run on them. I mean, I think, like, if you live in a forest, you could just start with that. You don't go, like, it's like going, I go to a house a lot. It's like, it's my house. Like, that's... You don't go to it. It's where you live. Which, by the way, it was also in Forza 3. Yeah, it was. I go hiking in forests fairly often in order to get home because you live in a forest. Like a kakiri. What used to before COVID. Also, I recently went to an American-style forest. What? The Redwood Forest, which is beautiful. Where's that? I have also been to a shopping center called Forest Hill. That probably doesn't count.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Same with the Rainforest Cafe.
Have you taken your meds today?
I went to Tassie recently, and yeah, I went to plenty of forests there. I assume that's so you can, like, run around outside because you get tired in your cage.
To feel close
Look
to home.
up, like, Redwood Forest. Because, like, is that in Melbourne? Like, is that, like, a Victoria thing? Or is this being just able to teleport between forests because he's a forest dweller? Is that a power?
No, there is an actual California redwood forest in Victoria.
Oh, well, look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maps that. Yeah, because those things are fucking... It'll be the last place you can fucking get them when they're all burnt down. It's like in the Dandenong Ranges too. It's like down the road.
Yeah.
That's novel. You know what we should do? We should do that with forests. Like we should plant all the different things and see which forest, like make fusion forests and shit. You know? The ball question. I cannot think of many examples of when I hurt my Yahtzees, but the only one I can think of is when I accidentally sat on them in high school, and man, that hurt.
Great story. Great fucking story. I sat on them. Awesome. Fucking awesome.
It's a good example of what I talk about of the nature of like the art of a story is in the telling.
Yeah.
Because like the basic facts of that, like you could have a setting, you could set like you don't need to make shit up. You don't need to
No.
alter the facts of a story. You just have to know how to tell a story in a way that's interesting. It's like when I tell that story of like fucking, Alan going down the hill in the fucking trolley. Like, that's several thousand words long. Like, and it's none of it's like fucking made up. It's just I know how to like use my memory of the scene to create a scene that puts you in there.
Yeah.
I could just as easily say, oh yeah, I saw a cunt go down a hill in a trolley once.
Yeah.
And it's the same detail.
Exactly.
Greetings, Twisticles. I have felt like this. Have you ever taken mushrooms? Yes. One time was particularly memorable. Yeah, they'll do that. I was living in Scotland at the time and had found a good patch that year. I collected a bunch of them. The main UK fireworks festival is Guy Fawkes Night, and in Edinburgh, the tradition is to go up the hill in the middle of town and launch rockets at each other. I suppose now they just launch them at the British or the English. I met with some friends to partake, and as there were several drinks ahead of me, I decided to play catch up with my entire mushroom crop. That's a bad life choice. Yeah, what you do is you take the mushrooms and you'll catch up on your own. You don't need it doesn't work like booze where you're like, oh yeah, I better chug a beer to like fucking get on their level.
No.
On the hill was great. There were shiny stars and whooshy rockets and bangs and the other stars and closer and hotter variety. My memories are a bit hazy as I was tripping balls, but I do remember seeing a tufty grass on the hill and as a giant tin peaches. As it turns out, they remained rockier than preserved fruit, and after jumping headfirst into them a few times, I was bleeding quite a lot, and the rest of the group was getting cold, so we set off down the hill. On the way down, I looked up and found out why you don't look at the stars while on shrooms. Yeah. I don't remember much of the walk on the way down, other than puzzling on how my hand could be me and the stars not be me. As I said, I was tripping balls. I also don't remember where we found the shopping trolley, but there was one, and that one member of the group was too drunk to walk, so we put him in it as we made for the grotty student bar near the hill. This also necessitated finishing the fine variety of beverages we had, including a milk jug full of red wine.
Ew.
A heady cocktail consisting of equal parts cheap red wine and vodka.
Ew.
That's awful. Why don't just drink those separately?
Yeah.
Why turn that into the same thing?
No.
Like you start on the wine or start on the vodka.
Start on either. You don't just combine them.
What if you mix them into a milk jug? What if you left and never
genius.
came back? Downing this substantially affected the ability of another group member to walk and talk, so he was given the job of pushing the supermarket trolley with its drunken mess of a cargo. Shortly before the bar, there is a large swimming pool which has steps in front of it. I wonder where this is going. As we approached these, the trolley pusher gave it a shove. At this point, I was coming up from cosmic speculations as the trip moved back into the everything is funny mode. The trolley rolled towards the steps. Its occupant protested, but couldn't get out. Everyone laughed. Then there was a moment where we realized the trolley was moving fast enough we couldn't get to it before it would reach the steps. Silence descended, except for me. I kept giggling uncontrollably. When it reached the steps, it promptly tipped over. A tangle of drunken cargo, his drink, and trolley tumbled into the bottom and started bleeding. My giggling intensified, partly because the guy was a cunt and partly because I was tripping hard. This was across the road from the bar we were going to. I don't think you're going to get into that bar.
I hope that you don't get into that.
I'm still not sure why we tried to get in, presumably just group inertia, but we appeared two covered in blood, one being carried and another with a questionable ability to speak or walk. That is funny. Because, like, I've had dudes try to get into, like, I remember back when I was working at the Bowery, like, try to get in there after they've clearly been in a drunken fight. And, like, I mean, like, they're wasted for starters. And they're bleeding from the forehead and their shirt's torn. And it's just like, what are you doing? Go home.
I'm the master of disguise.
Yeah. Maybe you won't notice I'm bleeding. And, like, quite a bit, too.
Yeah.
You know? Like, not a full, like, fucking, Ric Flair, but, like, his face has got blood on it enough to the point where it's like, your face is covered in blood.
Yeah.
And your shirt's ripped and you've clearly been wrestling. I'm not letting a drunk wrestling person into the bar at this point. Like, it doesn't,
No.
Go home. It's home time now. I was giggling uncontrollably and approached the bouncer in what may be one of the most questionable decisions in the history. He allowed us all in, and we were not thrown out until a few drinks later, when one of the more inebriated party members fell through a table, destroying the glasses and collapsing.
Yeah.
Oh, and I collapsed laughing. I'm not sure what happened after, other than I awoke in my own bed with my maths assignment done.
Well, I mean, good on you for being productive while drunk.
That's the mushroom goblins. They sometimes it just help you out. If there is a moral to this story, I'm fucked if I know what it is. Oh yeah, take mushrooms and your fucking homework gets done by itself.
Take mushrooms and succeed, my child.
Perhaps that reckless drug use leads to memorable events. Have you ever been in a forest? Yes, I once shat myself in a bamboo forest. Mm-hmm. And lacking any toilet paper, or tissues, I attempted to wipe my ass on growing bamboo.
Ah!
Okay, I've read ahead and the rest of this is a doozy. I do not recommend. Though the faces on the Indian family who were talking to my traveling companion when I emerged from the bushes covered in leaves and my own feces was quite a sight.
People are willingly telling us this stuff.
That's kind of what this whole thing was about for me.
True.
Worst time you noted it yourself. As a jaded pervert who gets off on this kind of thing, there are many options. I don't want to hear those. But you don't want to hear about that. Correct. Perhaps the least enjoyable nutting was when I was unexpectedly shot in the groin at point blank range with a paintball gun. Like, okay, so see, here's the thing. Why was that not fun, you know? Because if you look at the foot fetish nut bars, like, it's always feet for them. You know, there's not fun feet. It's like, you know, they can be on the beach, doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, feet. You know, if you like having your balls tortured and hurt and kicked and shit, what's like a paintball? Like, I mean, all right, that's advanced. Because those things move. Not much more to say about that other than it was really unfun. I mean, like, so this is what I mean. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
You know, because, like...
There's a story to how it got to that point, because you don't just go up to a friend and go, hey man, shoot me in the ball with a paintball gun.
I'm having trouble ejaculating. I need you to shoot me in the nut with a paintball. Because, like... If you were like if the story was I got shot in the nuts with a paintball gun, I'd assume it's like, all right, you were doing paintball and just one of them fucking astray got in your fucking nuts. But point blank is adding a detail that implies an awful lot more to the story than is being revealed. I mean, it's probably just weird fucking, you know, ball torture. The ball torture people are weird. I know a few people. I know at least one guy who's really into all that weird shit. It's just like that just seems like a lot of hassle. I remember once I met him like out front the fucking Hungry Jack's. Just ran into him, you know. It was one of those times where I just, oh yeah, hey, how's it going? It's like, so I said like, hey, how's it going? And like the answer I got was not the one I was expecting, because answer I got was I got publicly flogged in an igloo, and I had
fuck.
I'll save the explanation for that for later, but I had no way of processing that sentence. There was just no in point for me.
No, that is a lot to go from hey to.
Because, like, publicly flogged, I'm coming back to that later. I don't want to deal with that first.
No.
That's not the start of the meal. Igloo is Brisbane in summer. There are no igloos, you know. It's like I publicly flogged an igloo. Fuck. All right. You've actually got me there. All right. So if you've got any amazing stories like I have been in forest and
don't be a forest dweller.
Yeah. Okay. If you're a forest dweller who's somehow stumbled across an active internet connection and is desperate to communicate with the outside world, send your email to I have felt like this, all lowercase, at Yahoo Mail, and try and like concentrate the fucking mulch that you use for a brain on these questions. Have you ever met a goat? Have you ever met a cockatoo? And don't tell me you've met a goat if you live on a goat. Okay? I understand that you've met a goat if your house is like somehow woven into the wool of a fucking colossal goat. Okay? The story there is a giant goat. I don't care about any of the other things. Same goes for the cockatoo. Have you ever lost something valuable? And the wacky question, ever been caught in an expanding web of lies? And I'm almost concerned as to the answers I'm going to get from that. Let's be, yes, I have been caught in an expanding web of lies. Goodbye, and then that'll be the rest of it.
It is getting like that. It is. Really fuck it is.
I have been in a forest. I live in a forest. Okay.
You know, like if you send an email like that once, fair enough. But when you do it every fucking time, it's like, why are you doing this? You need to come here and let us perform surgery and look at your brain.
Just, I want you to like Google email and just read a few.
Yeah, just like take a template and just put your own words into the template, you know?
There has to be something out there for that, you know. Like there's got to be an app on a phone that translates autistic to human.
Yes, Twitter.
It's the muffled murmurs of a fursuit. You can just assume, you know, pick up what they're saying from gestures and context.
The smell of the movements in the air.
So that is, I have felt like this, all lowercase, at yahoo.com. Ever met a goat? Ever met a cockatoo? Ever lost something valuable? Or ever been caught in an expanding web of lies? And so that has been Little Black Balls.
Little black balls,
Yeah.
black
I'm
balls.
not going to go home and try to get the image of a child drowning in a shower stall of feces out of my mind. And while I do this, my name will be Gabriel. You can find me at Gabriel on Guard on Twitter and probably Mastodon as well, and eventually Hive maybe, I don't know.
I'm just sticking to Twitter, and then if it goes down, I'll look at other shit. I can't be bothered. I use them all as little as it is. Fucking usually anyway. You can find me at Ambercules on Twitter, and you can find us at keepitclassy.com. And we have felt like this. Not like
Ooh.
Nell, but like this. We'll see you next time.
Toodles.